Speaking of Liz, there she is, the amazing Liz Caruso. Liz, I am so privileged and honored to have someone with your power, your mojo behind you as part of my podcast, Top 3 Thursday. We have a ton of event planners listening for tips and tricks. And as I referenced at the beginning of the program, this is, besides being in the military, being an officer, whatever, the most stressful job in the industry, statistically proven. Liz has been doing it for a long time, and as I referenced at the beginning of this podcast, she's been recognized in so many different magazines, accolades galore. Liz, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you for having me. I love chatting with people in the industry, some of the best people in the world.
Absolutely. And actually, reference to Liz, and we didn't even know this until I was looking at some of her posts on LinkedIn, that too went to the Entrepreneur Leadership Conference in New York that was held just recently on April 18th. Thanks to our friend Ramon Ray, I'm going to shout him out as well, and Seth Godin as well, who was amazing. I always tell people all the time, I'm the greater sum of the 5 people that I surround myself with, and being in a room with so much passion, energy, great speakers. It's inspiring to be there, right? And thanks to you being on my podcast, again, my level continues to go up because I'm the greater sum of the 5 people that I surround myself with. So thank you for that, Liz.
Very flattering. But yeah, Ramon, I was telling you before the show, you can't really follow him up. He's got such great energy. And if you're talking about surrounding yourself with the right people, he's definitely one of them.
He absolutely is. Since we're briefly talking about that, I'm going to link that conference for next year because it's a growing conference and it was so valuable. The importance of so many newbies. There were a lot of newbies that were just starting their business, right?
Yeah.
And just trying to soak in and be a sponge for the great speakers that were imparting amazing information. What's the importance of doing that? Of course, we understand the importance of doing that as a newbie. Of course, we're learning how to build our business. But for someone like myself, for you, I've been doing this since 2000. I started in the Disney days as a producer. It's so important for me to continue to learn new ways to do things that we just kind of take for granted. We get complacent in our education efforts, and we know that complacency stifles your growth. So in your words, tell me what's the importance of continuing to educate yourself and surrounding yourself with those kind of conferences?
I mean, I feel like you just have to be around other people not doing the work all the time. Event planning, as you said, super stressful. We spend lots of hours talking to our clients and sitting in meetings and reading BEOs and stuff. At the end of the day, I think it's really important, especially to experience things on the attendee side and to think about what works, what doesn't work, what you like, what you don't like. But then also, to your point, to constantly be meeting other people who have different perspectives, different experiences. I think that's one of the biggest issues in the events industry is that people get so myopic and that's the only thing we talk about. We talk to other event people and about events and that's it. And there's so much outside of the world of events that impacts the people every day who come to our events and what they expect and what they want. And I just think every time I go anywhere, listen to a podcast, meet a new person, you're always getting new ideas and you have to be doing that, or it gets stale really, really fast.
Absolutely, it does. From that conference, at least on my side, I was not going to gain business by attending there, but the insight that I received from several of the speakers, and again, I've been doing this for a while, was amazing. It truly was. And of course, listening to Seth, the GOAT of marketing, 100%, extremely invaluable. So I want to dive in. I'm not waiting on the question for a segment. I want to dive in to your accolades because you've been featured on lots of publications. I trolled you to see all these people to say Liz is the GOAT. What she imparts and what she provides for our community is so invaluable to growth, right? Tell me your journey a little bit in terms of how you really fell into this world, because you have several different brands, that you're associated with. Tell me your journey and how you navigate all those brands and that encompasses all that Liz Caruso is.
Yeah, so I think the key really has been just the fact that it has been a journey, starting out kind of falling into the events industry. My original event planning company, lizkingevents, just started because it was a Twitter handle. And I was connecting with people and people started saying, hey, can you plan my event? And I would say, no, not a company. And then I realized, well, that's stupid. I should just become a company and do that. And it's kind of the evolution of that, like techystalk, which is our brand that focuses more on educating other event professionals, started as a hashtag at an event that we happened to do for Internet Week. And then we were like, this is fun. Let's keep doing that. And so that became a company. And so I think it's just been my career in this industry has been a journey. I'm constantly trying new things and learning. And every time my mind takes me another direction, like, oh, that's very interesting. That's the way I go. And I find people who, that's kind of how I live. Something's interesting. I gather people around me to learn more about it. And as I'm doing that, typically projects and brands and stuff going to come out of that. So I feel like I've grown up in the events industry. And so my companies have done the same. It's like a constantly evolving process. Got a new one coming up soon.
Uh-oh.
More things coming out.
Right, are you talking about on this podcast?
We could. I wasn't planning on it.
Hey, it's always a first right here on Top 3 Thursday. Before we get to that, one of the specialties is digital world. And I know that you're probably very astute on the AI opportunities that are happening right now. I tell people all the time, in the next 5 years, we're going to see more growth in the next 5 years than we've experienced in the last 100 years on the tech side. And, any company out there right now, if you don't consider yourself a tech company, then you're doing yourself a disservice. I too am a tech company. My product is just events. Right. But
Sure.
You got to embrace the event side of everything. So another important question to ask you on this, Liz, is that with so many things flying out the door all the time with tech, hey, what kind of AI platforms are you on? And people will say GPT, Chat GPT or whatever. And I kind of laugh because, man, there are so many things out there right now. So how does someone who actually, focuses on that industry, how do you keep up?
First of all, I don't think you can. And so I think I'm kind of a middle of the road person. Like I love technology. We use it all the time, been doing it for a long time. But at the same time, I'm not one who likes to get easily distracted. If you see like the number of apps on my phone, it's actually very small. I've had all the notifications turned off. I try not to get absorbed in that world of what else could there be? Because the answer is there's a billion other things and you will never keep up. So where I really think I try to stay rooted and I encourage other people to stay rooted is in the needs, the everyday. Like doing this is so stressful and so annoying. There's got to be a tool. The answer is yes, there is a tool. That's when you go out and figure out what's out there. So instead of trying to find out everything that's out there, find the stuff that's going to be most valuable to your everyday life, do the research there, dig in a little bit there, and then integrate the few things that work really well. There's a lot out there, but it's important to always be trying things that are new so that you're aware of what's out there. But most of that is noise and most of it's not going to be helpful to the average person. So why stress yourself out with trying to do all that? That's kind of my opinion.
Love that feedback. Love it. You're located and live in New York. How long have you lived in New York for, Liz?
25 years or so. Long time.
Love it. And I lived in New York for about 8 years. And I tell my wife all the time, please, when our kids are going to college next year, so we're done after next year, can we move back? I live in Colorado and Denver right now. Denver's beautiful, great place to raise kids, but man, there's nothing that soaks up the energy of living in New York. And it is. And when I was there for the Entrepreneur Leadership Awards, again, I called my wife, hey, I'm ready to come back. I'm ready to make this happen. What it is, though, is why someone like yourself, Liz, are so impressive because you got the hustle, right? You live and breathe the hustle. And there's so many producers out there who come from New York and you just can't compete at that level because the hustle is real. For those producers in New York. Tell me, before we get into our question of the week, the advantages of living in a metropolis like New York compared to other places, not to negate other locations, but New York provides something a little bit different. And maybe, Liz, you could expand on that.
Yeah, I think it's just, this is all I know for my professional life. This is where I have been, but I've obviously traveled around the country and around the world. And when I do that, you realize what a blessing it is to be here, where first of all, there is a lot of opportunity. There's also a lot of competition. And so that's really forced me to hone in on what I like to do and what I can do for our clients and what I can't do for our clients. And also the ability to collaborate. I think in a lot of other markets, you're just kind of like, you got to figure out a way to make it work. Whereas I don't have to do that. If a client wants us to do something that I'm not comfortable with, just call 10 other people down the street and collaborate with them to do that for my client. And so that's a really big benefit for sure. And then of course, things are just moving really fast here. So we get access to a lot of technology, a lot of the conversations. The Entrepreneurs Conference is just one example of things that are happening every day here. So you can take advantage of that in a way where you don't have to pay for flights to go to every conference, and you don't have to choose the one that you're going to go to this year. And that's a huge benefit. And of course, the network, just there's so many people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. You got it. Okay. So I'm going to lean into this question because some of the things you just referenced also are going to be very relevant to our question of the week. So college graduates, they are now on their way looking for their career path, right? And I'm a speaker as well. And I speak at lots of hospitality schools about mostly scalability, but also the path of all these different avenues to take, right? They're all hungry to be, just like you are, Liz, right now, a leader in the community, in the industry with, again, lots of accolades through different publications and people who just want to soak you up, right? So our question of the week is the top 3 ways to develop into a leader in the event industry. Okay, I'm going to start with number 3, Liz, with you. Ready on that? Number 3 coming at you? Ready. Hit me.
Oh, well, we were just talking a little bit about it. It's the connections. You have to talk to everybody, be friends with everybody. Don't be so concerned about getting to that CEO level person and that's what's going to make you the leader. Talk to every single level of the organizations that are around you, whether they are event focused, whether they're not event focused. Again, don't get too focused on everything has to be about the events industry. If you want to be a leader, you're going to be well-rounded. So you're going to be talking to all different kinds of companies and all different levels of people, and everyone matters to you at the same level. So it doesn't matter, again, if they're a C-level executive or if they're an administrative assistant, those relationships are equally valuable to you, and you need to treat them as if that were the case. And so you need to cultivate your network, do things like keep up an active LinkedIn account, connect with people as you meet them, follow up with people as you create relationships. And just remember that you never know who's going to be the person who introduces you. The events industry is very much about connections. And yeah, I've talked to people who 10 years later, they refer me an amazing client. It's not a system of like you tagged them and you knew they were going to bring you someone good. You will never know. And if you think that you're only good enough for certain kinds of conversations, or if you want to really be a leader, you got to really position yourself. Don't get caught up in all that. All that ego is not going to help you. It's about meaningful, wide breadth relationships. Just get to know everybody and be honest and open with who you are.
Right. You never know where people are going to end up, and super smart.
Never know.
What you said. The thing also about being able to connect with as many people as possible is that, and I'm sure, on LinkedIn you referenced, make sure you're connected, make sure you're relevant. On Liz's LinkedIn profile, she has 8,000 plus people that follow her, which is a nice sum of people. I think I read out of the millions of people that are on LinkedIn, only 5% are actively engaging on LinkedIn on a consistent basis. And it's so key in this industry to continue the consistency, right? And you got to start with the connection somehow. And maybe since we're still talking about number 3 real quick, what are ways to take the fear out of talking to someone that probably is way higher up in the experience level, done countless things, taking the fear out of it? What's your strategy in terms of just engaging people that you may not know? And again, this is for the newbies that are coming in the industry, right? And they're afraid to talk to people. What's a strategy to encourage them to talk to people?
2 things. One is that one of the reasons why they're afraid is because they see these people as so much better than them. And at the end of the day, it's not really true. They've been through the same things as you. No matter how many accolades you have on your website, they're human beings who are figuring it out just like you are, and they might have bigger teams and bigger salaries, but they're people. And the other thing is that I think people get so focused on what they want from the other person, and they're like, how do I get that thing? Like whether that's a recommendation or a job or whatever it might be, you got to let go of all those pretenses. And again, kind of what I was saying about the community in the first place, just meet people, ask, be curious. Don't worry so much about what they can give you. Worry about what kinds of things you'd like to learn from them and what you might be able to offer them, whether that's a skill. I remember my number one mentor, someone I connected with very early in my career, France Laflamme. She had a consulting group and she just was incredibly valuable to me. I connected with her through SCORE, the business mentorship organization, so highly recommend them. And I was very young. I knew nothing about the industry, and she had been involved in World Olympics and World Cups and all kinds of huge events. And she gave so freely to me in terms of content and knowledge. But I also was able to help her a lot with technology, which I didn't see going into it. But the more we talked, I was like, let me help you with this. And we still talk to this day about, hey, Liz, what app should I be using? Or what am I doing with this? And it's that exchange of information that makes relationships valuable. I think that fear comes from when you just think like, I'm lowly and they're so great and I need something from them. And that's where you're messing up from the very beginning.
Right. And how about, we'll talk about the ego play. How about great way to approach someone to stroke their ego? You just referenced you have a mentor as well. You shouted them out. If someone shouts you out, it just makes you want to help that person even more.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
I've seen you in so many different arenas, and I just would love to be a sponge listening to what you have to say.
Right.
And trust me, they're not going to say no. Right?
Right.
They're 100%. And speaking of no, if you are engaging with people and they don't, especially through email or whatever, they don't want to talk to you, just go for the no, right? Because the yes is a lot closer. The more no's you get, the yes is a lot closer. So love that, Liz. I love number 3. That was great. Okay. Number 2 reason why today's individuals getting into the industry can develop a leadership strategy through doing what?
You got to find a niche. Everyone's trying to be everything. You're graduating. You're trying to like just take any job. I'll do anything. But I think one of the most valuable things that anyone can do, whether you're going to be an entrepreneur or you're going to work in an organization, is figure out what you do better than anybody else. And it's time to get a little bit cocky in this one area, which is what are the things everyone comes to you to solve that problem? What are the things you love doing? That it's kind of cliche, but that thing you could do for hours and hours and you don't even realize how long you've been doing it because you're so good at it. Or the thing that you think, well, I can't ever make money doing that because that's fun. That's easy. That's the hard stuff for everybody else. And that's what differentiates you. So whether you're putting that on your resume very clearly as a job application or you're marketing your skill set to a new client, it's really important, especially in this industry, to know what you do really well. There are people who are making full-time careers out of food and beverage management, out of speaker management. You don't have to be an end-to-end all type of event manager to be successful. And in fact, I think the most successful people, event technology was my thing. I loved it. And I kept being like, well, yeah, of course I'm talking about technology. Isn't everyone? Oh, wait, not everyone's talking about it. Well, then let's launch techystalk or let's come up with this. So you really have to lean into that thing. And that's what's going to make you really marketable and also give you the best chance of being successful and making some money in this industry.
I love that. I love lean into your expertise. Now, what about those entrepreneurs, those people that, potentially want to start their own business? Being an entrepreneur myself, you don't want to say no to opportunities that come across your desk. I'm going to start my new business. I know a ton about entertainment, but I know nothing about transportation, or I know nothing about AV, but man, I know how to connect. I know how to bring people into my world. What's a strategy based on that if you want to start your own business and you don't want to work with someone else or work for someone else?
I would say the best thing is to do what you do really well and partner with other people to supplement all those other things that you're not great at. So instead of pretending, like I'm not a big fan of fake it till you make it, don't take on that transportation contract if you have no clue what you're doing with transportation. But if you can find someone that you can partner with and you can take a cut of, giving them that business, and the more partnerships you have, the more it comes back to you as well. They find someone who really needs entertainment help and you start helping them with that. So I would say, leverage your skill set and market the heck out of that skill set. Everyone does the opposite. They try to be everything to everyone. They try not to say no. It is better to say no, not just because it might be something that you don't know very well and you don't want to like not do a good job, but it makes you even sound better. Like I've had clients where I've had to say, yeah, that's really not in my wheelhouse, or that budget range is really not something that we can work with. It makes you more desirable. They're like, I'm coming back next time I need something entertainment. I'm only going to you because they know that you know that thing really well. And that's what people want, is something they know and that they can trust that you're going to deliver on. I think that you're going all in on the niche is really, as they say, the riches are in the niches. You got to really market that thing and turn everything else down. It feels sad. And then if you don't do that, years down the road, you're making okay money with a bunch of clients you don't really like working with. And you've got to really change your whole business strategy, which a lot of people get into like 10 years down the road. They're like, okay, I'm working a lot. I don't like anything I'm doing. That's because from the beginning, you weren't saying no to the stuff that you really weren't that good at or that you really didn't want to do. So start easy and then you have a much brighter path down the road.
The riches are in the niches. I love that. Yes. I'm going to hang on to that one. Okay, that was number 2.
It's not mine. I told it from someone else.
I've never heard it before. So Liz, I'm going to give you accountability for that one. So I'm giving it all yours. All right. So we had number 3 was connections. Number 2, riches in the niches. Okay. Number 1 reason, I know this is going to be a value bomb for the newbies coming out in the industry to develop themselves into leader, a strategy. Give it to me, Liz. Number 1.
if you can be a leader in the industry, but lets you find your niche, people think you are the best at that thing, the opportunities are endless. If someone told me that I was making part of my income from coaching and public speaking, I would have laughed at you 10 years ago and been like, yeah, right, I'm never getting on a stage. But those opportunities open up the opportunity to do your own events. You know, we have our own techystalk conference, and I've been doing coaching and speaking and all these things that are revenue generators. And not only are they revenue generators, which is always nice, but they're things that I'm doing, which means I get to control how often we do them, what we charge for them. I'm making all of the sponsorship revenue, the speaker revenue, everything that you would be making, the ticket sales, instead of doing that on your client's behalf only, which of course we still do that for clients, you also get to do it for yourself. And there are just so many opportunities that you really can't even picture at this stage when you're just starting out. You're like, I don't know. Well, the reason why you want to be a leader and really figure out why you're better than other people is because that's going to open up so many things. So just keep your mind open to what that could look like. Again, if someone said I was going to be a speaker, I would have laughed at you. But when someone says, well, I'll pay you $5,000 if you'll stand on the stage, you're like, I think I can figure it out. And then you realize that was fun. I want to do that again. And you get to do it again and again and again. That starts bringing in revenue that you didn't even ever think was possible. And that's one of the best things about the events industry is that there are so many opportunities, so many ways you could spin this into a highly profitable podcast or a 6 or 7 figure event that you host yourself. There are just so many things, but if you are playing small and you're just kind of doing anything anybody wants you to do, and you're just kind of doing the same kinds of events over and over again, you're not really raising the bar in terms of what you're doing, you're not becoming a leader, those opportunities don't open for you. So it's really important, I think, that you get yourself to find that niche and to really go hard so that other people, because that's the key. You can't just make yourself a leader. Other people have to see you as a leader, and then these things open up. So it's a hustle and it's a game for a long run. This is not something that's going to happen overnight for most people, but I think that's the number one reason why people want to do that.
To open yourself up for opportunities. I mean, plain and simple, and they're everywhere. And you're absolutely right, Liz. There are opportunities everywhere. I mean, when I started my business, I was doing bar bat mitzvahs. I just continue to keep my ears open and my ego closed. Again, same situation. I'm not the expert at everything, right? But right. I know other people that can help you potentially, you know, and they're going to bring you opportunities as well. So I love that. So again, connections, riches in the niches, and of course, open the door for the opportunities. So knowing on the techystalk conference, do you have one coming up soon, Liz? When is the next techystalk conference?
To be determined. I think we're going to do a partner event this year with another brand. So we'll come out with that soon.
Okay, well, we'll be looking out for it to make sure that we post that. But as an added bonus, since we were talking about an entrepreneur and leadership conference we went to, that was a leap and a jump by our friend Ramon Ray that said, I'm going to start my own conference as well. And obviously you've done the same thing. Tell me the benefits and the downfalls of potentially starting your own event or conference, something that has your brand all over it.
I mean, I think it's just a very smart, easy transition for most event professionals who are very used to doing all the logistics already. And so instead of getting your little event planning fee, which, you know, hopefully is a sizable amount, but it's still a very small portion of the overall event budget, you can be making the ticket sales, the sponsorship sales. So on the revenue side, there's obviously some benefit. On the brand side, there's some benefit because your name is the one that's on there. So you're building your audience. And so that's always important for a brand. We, through the years of running techystalk and our conferences, we use that many times for business development. We'd have a potential client who said, we might work with you, or the budget's not there this year, whatever it looks like. And we would invite them as our guests to our conference. And after seeing what we do, they're like, you're on for next year or for this event that's coming up.
Super smart.
And so it was a really great opportunity to show them what we do and to see it in action. Another benefit is that we get to decide what we're doing. You know, we've all had the experience. I know you've had this experience where you pitch something you love to a client and they're like, yeah, it's not going to work, or it's too much money. And you're like, I'm telling you it's going to work. And the clients just don't believe in it. Well, when it's your own event, you just do it. Right. And then you get to go back to your clients and say, we tried it at our event and it was great. Let's do it at your event. It's a playground in many ways. We get to do things that maybe, and the risk side is not all of it works. We always have billed techystalk as the playground. So you don't have to try it on your clients. We'll try it. Give us your ideas. We'll do it ourselves. And then we'll be really honest about this worked and that was not so great. It was way too much time, or it just didn't work the way we thought, and here's what we would do differently or whatever. It's always a risk from brand standpoint. Anytime you put your name on something, that it's not going to go well, there won't be well attended, some shenanigans will break out. I mean, who knows? There's unlimited risk and there's unlimited benefit. Isn't that what they say about entrepreneurship? For every risk you take, the benefits have to outweigh it. And I think hosting your events definitely has the potential to give you way more benefit than it takes on the risk. But yeah, there are always risks.
So you answered my next question was, so if you had to do it again, would you do it? And you basically said it, you would do it. Yeah, because the benefits outweigh the negatives. I'm going to go back to the negatives as my final question. Again, people getting out there in the industry, what's the one thing they shouldn't do? What's the one thing that you would tell them to avoid is not going to add a lot of value in terms of their trajectory for what they want to do with their lives in this industry?
Okay, epic techystalk story. When we started out, we used to do everything for free. And I'm not opposed to working for free if it means that you're building a portfolio or you're getting a recommendation or a testimonial, but be very specific about what you're offering and what you get in return. We used to just do these meetups where it was like anyone could come for free as long as you're from the events industry, and we would coordinate everything for free on the venue side, and we would just host these events. First of all, I learned over many years of doing that it doesn't yield what you think it will yield. It doesn't yield lots of people who love you intently and want to spend money with you. It might be good for networking and that's about it. But we did have one event where we did this, and I'm standing in the photo booth. I hear a noise out of the corner of my ear. I look over and two ladies, event planner ladies, were throwing wine glasses at each other in a full-on fight. We had to pull them apart. And it was just a ridiculous. I ended up getting hit in the head with a wine glass and I was bleeding. The ambulance was there. And it was actually the first event that my husband, who was at that time, my boyfriend, came to see what I do. That was nice. Come see what I do. There's a fight. And that was the very last time that I did an event for free for the events industry, not just for the events industry, but in general. I think that there is value when people pay for something. And again, if you're getting a swap of some sort, fine. But if you think that, it's good to just give away your services or volunteer for everything that you can volunteer for, it doesn't really yield what you think it's going to yield. Hopefully it won't be fights at your brand event, that doesn't yield for everybody. But I just think I'm not a fan of never work for free, but be really smart about what you're doing and how you're giving out your time, and make sure that you're getting something in return. It could be as simple as a LinkedIn recommendation, but get something.
I love that. Because I tell my team all the time, if you are going to do something for free, make sure that it's not related to our industry. I tell people all the time that an important way of building your brand and your business is to give. Give.
Sure.
But don't do it in your industry, because then it's not authentic anymore. You normally do charge for your services, right? So do it outside of your industry and do it for something that you're passionate about and believe in, because it starts to tell you your story of who you are. And then the people that do buy your services know more about you, and who knows what connections and relevance created in those opportunities. So put your money where your mouth is, right? Okay, I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there she is, the amazing Liz Caruso with techystalk. We're going to leave some of those links. We're going to find out if you are going to have a conference this fall, because we want, obviously, some of our peeps that come on to Top 3 Thursday to check it out as well. Was that the big announcement, Liz?
Yeah.
Was that what you were going to say? Tell us that you may be having a conference?
No, but just stay tuned to my social. There's more stuff coming.
And her social's great. Be part of her 8,000 people connected to her, because Liz, again, is an influential mentor to so many people. How many times were you on the 25 most influential women in our industry? Was it once, twice? How many times was it? It seems like I see a lot of postings that, here she is again. No ego in
Small handful.
Okay, yeah. We could not be more impressed with your career. I could be not more grateful for you giving me your time today. And I know that I got a lot of value out of it as well. And I'll be sending you a check for that. So thank you for that, because put your money where your mouth is. Liz Caruso, techystalk. We'll see you next week on Top 3 Thursday.